Was it at what point in college did you realize hammer wasn't really like hitting the same? Did you just lose interest? Was it not fun anymore?
So it came down to like coaching. I'm someone who like, yes, I had a foundation in doing the hammer in high school, which a lot of people don't because it's not something that's offered in a lot of high schools. But I needed that next step as with college coaching, and I thought that I was going to have like a more hands-on coach. My coach wasn't really getting, I don't want to get too much into his business, but like he wasn't getting compensated the way he wanted to be. So like he had his own business on the side of gym. So he wasn't really like giving his all into that. And plus like I probably just wasn't hounding him as much because at that point I was like, I don't really want to hound a coach to coach me, you know, like if you don't want to be there, like I don't want to like fight with you to like coach me, because I can fight with you for like a month and you'll be there for a month, and then if you think I'm doing well, you'll just fall off again, and it's going to be this huge back and forth that I just didn't want to go through.
Right. So that kind of like got you to just focus on training consistently. So when you started working out, what was that like? Were you training at the URI gym?
So when I first started working out, like post track and field, I was back home. So I was trying to look for a gym that I could consistently go to. I went to one called Next Level in Johnson, Rhode Island. It soon like lost its way due to COVID, so I had to relocate to another gym in Johnson. I want to say Lincoln.
They closed down?
They didn't close down, but they downscaled a lot, and I really wasn't feeling going there. Like they took away a lot of like good machines. Like it just wasn't for me anymore. So I decided to move on. I went to a gym called Fitness Rising for a while. That's where I made the most of my gains, honestly. And then I started going to the General, and I was like, I don't really want to go to the gym in Lincoln no more. I'd rather go down to Fall River because it's more of a bodybuilding gym. And they have like some powerlifting aspects to it, but it was more of a complete gym and not more of like a box gym. So I decided to move into that type of gym, and I'm happy with my decision. I don't really miss Fitness Rising. It was good for what I needed it to be during like quarantine and stuff like that. But I'm glad I moved on to a different gym now.
Yeah, I remember at one point, I think I saw on a Snap story, I don't know which gym this was at, but you had your shirt off and you were like, yo, the abs are popping through. I was like, oh shit, yo,
Yeah, I think that was
Abraham's
Rising.
on something different. What's that?
Yeah, I think that was at Fitness Rising.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So at what point what was your split like? Were you doing mostly hypertrophy? Were you even training power at all at that point?
So what I was doing, I was still doing the Olympic lifts. I would pair it with squat, bench, and deadlift as well.
Okay.
So I would do, like, first day would be clean, and then I want to say clean and deadlift, and then second day would be snatch and squat, and then the next day I just do bench.
Okay.
And then I do like hypertrophy work as well. I was mainly like doing a lot of hypertrophy work, and I want to say at one point I got down to about like 186 at one point.
Oh shit.
And that's a huge jump because like right now I'm like 227. I can sit at like 235 comfortably. Yeah. So it's a big jump.
Yeah. And where would you say your strength comes from?
I would just say like not giving up. Like I know people like always down ego lifting, but I see it as a way of like not giving up. Okay. Like a lot of people will like, they'll see online like, oh, don't ego lift, and they think it's just like, oh, like people are being stupid in the gym. But ego lifting can also be like, hey, I know I'm stronger than what I'm displaying right now. Let me work at that, and like let me turn off my sensible brain saying like, hey, you're not strong enough to do that, and turn on like the ego and be like, you know you're strong, you can do that. You just have to keep on fucking working.
That's a great perspective, actually, because the ego lifting is like the most stigmatized thing in the gym.
Yeah.
And I think people look at the negative aspect in terms of like how you can get injured, how some people are showing off. But I like the way you're putting it, like that different perspective on it, where the ego isn't always a bad thing. Like the ego, everybody has an ego. And at least in the gym, being able to like not want to give up, not want to quit, I think that's a good mindset. So you would say that's something that's really pushed you to keep going?
Yeah, definitely. Because, like, honestly, and a lot of people know it, a lot of people go into the gym, they just half-ass shit, and they're not really, like, in there to, like, really get strong. Like, a lot of people say, oh, like, my hamstring hurts or, like, my knee hurts. And it's like, well, are you doing any rehab for it? Are you, like, trying to do any accessories to make sure that, like, oh, I'm like being able to like properly recover? Because a lot of it is, a lot of people don't have the conditioning and like the supporting muscle groups to even do like the squat, bench, deadlift like at a high intensity. And they wonder why they're always getting hurt. And then they don't go to like, they don't seek PT or like any term of recovery. They just go back in and get hurt again.
Right. That's, you know what's interesting about that? Russ, he loves to do hypertrophy. And when he started out, people were shitting on him for it. Like, why do you train hypertrophy as a powerlifter? Because very few powerlifters were doing that. Yeah. And he was like, well, he trains hypertrophy. He trains accessory movements also to actually help him get stronger. So I've seen Aries kind of implement that. And I'm sure it doesn't work for everybody. Yeah. But, like, to be able to tap into those smaller muscles that actually help, like the triceps, the shoulders for bench, or, like, the hammies, calves for squat, those are things over time, those little things that'll go a long way into like actually helping you build. So, and also like PT too, bro. Like I'm built like I'm 30 when I'm not. Like if I don't warm up my legs or I gotta warm up back, shoulders. I gotta like get my core warm, all that stuff just for leg day, just to have a decent leg day. But like that's proportionate to like the amount of volume that we go through. So I would say, in terms of pivoting from that, right, next steps for you, because at this point you've been to nationals, you won, you're on a different level now. So what's the game plan for you?
So game plan for me is I would like to move down to the 90 kg category again. Okay. This time.
Now, the last time you did that, it was a bit, it wasn't your best meet. And you were actually getting to that before I cut you off. Sorry. You talked about that Dartmouth meet not being your best meet. So talk to me a little bit about that. And then we can get into like why it wasn't your best meet and then how you plan to approach it, attack the 90 kg next time.
Okay. So I would say this goes into my sort of aggressive cutting methodology, which I won't get into right now.
You can.
You can? Okay.
Yeah.
So typically what I do is I'm not the best at like diet and nutrition. So I was 230 the week of me needing to be 198 pounds for the meet in Dartmouth.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just need a water load and then, hit the sauna up, do my cardio, spit in a gallon if I need to, and I'll be good. So I want to say the night of, actually, I'll just go into how I did it. So the week of, what I'll do is for every 20 pounds that I have on my body, I'll drink 1 liter of water.
Okay.
So say I was 230, I drink about 11 and a half liters of water. So that comes out to be like 3 gallons. What I'll do is I'll drink 3 gallons of water with 2 grams of salt for the first 2 days. So Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, I'll just drink the 3 gallons with no salt.
Okay.
And then I'll couple that with doing keto, so no carbs. Well, maybe some trace carbs, but like no bread and like stuff like that.
Okay.
Just solely like meat. I I would do chicken mostly because it's very lean and it's more expensive to get like leaner cuts of beef. Chicken is just like your overall best bet. Mm-hmm. So I would do that. Also minding like I have to do cardio and like I'm probably eating like 1,500 calories. I'm killing myself trying to do this.
Right.
So on that Wednesday, that's the last day that I drink any water. Thursday, no water, doing my cardio. I will eat like candy bars, like Hershey's chocolate bars or like Snickers, just to get like some sort of energy in, but not to eat anything that will add any additional weight onto my body. And just this time, it wasn't really clicking. I was at like 215, 220 still. So I was in the edge doing cardio like the night of, and I was like, damn, I don't think I'm gonna make it. So the day of weigh-ins, because USPA has a 24-hour weigh-in. What I did was I utilized all the time that I had. I think the weigh-in ended at like 5. So what I did is what did I do? Oh my gosh. I woke up at like 206 body weight. And I was like...
Morning of?
Yeah,
weigh-ins?
morning of 206. Damn. I'm like, I'm kind of in a good position, but I know I have to grind it out.
Yeah.
So I was at the edge. I heard some people tell me like, oh, do green alcohol baths, which is...
Green alcohol baths?
Yeah. So it's I want to say it's wintergreen alcohol or peppermint rubbing alcohol.
Yeah.
You pour it into like a tub full of hot water, do Epsom salt, like 4 bags, and you sit in it for like an hour.
You did that the day of the meet?
So I attempted to do it.
Okay.
I sat in it for like 10 minutes and I sweated my balls off. I was like, I can't sit in this right now.
It just made you sweat really heavy?
It was making me sweat very heavy, and I was just like, bro, I'm dying. Like
it was hot?
It's not hot. It was just uncomfortable.
Okay.
I was just like, I can't do this. So I got out, and then I looked at the scale, and it was like, oh, you're 202. I was like,
oh, shit.
I was like, wait, what? So I'm like, 10 minutes, I was at 202, but I wasn't actually 202. I'm hallucinating. Because
really?
I've lost so much weight. I'm hallucinating. I'm seeing things.
So you weren't 202?
No, I was still I think I gained weight. I was like 208. Oh, so I text Aries. I'm like, hey, man, I'm 202. I'm going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I'm like, oh, wait, no. I'm like.
When did it hit you that you weren't 202?
So I waited about like 10 minutes and I checked the scale again because I was like, maybe I'm just seeing what I want to see. So then I checked again and I was like, oh, shit, I'm like 208. And Aries is like, all right, you have to go in the sauna and you have to do your cardio. So I was like, bet. So I go into the edge. I want to say an hour on the elliptical, and then I do 30 minutes in the sauna, 15-minute intervals. I get down to about like 204, and I'm like, shit. So I do 30 minutes on the bike, and then I do another 30 on the elliptical, down to 202. Mind you, it's like 1 o'clock, and the meet director is calling me, and they're like, hey, are you still coming in to weigh in? And I'm like, yeah, I just have weight to lose. Yeah. So I'm like, fuck, I have to put the pedal to the metal. Yeah. So I go back into the sauna. I didn't really lose too much weight. I was at 201. So I was like, damn it. So I go back in again, and I'm like, I don't go back in the sauna. I go back on the bike and do the elliptical again. I get down to 201. And I'm like, this isn't working. I'm just going to spit into a gallon, and hopefully I can spit out the rest of the weight. And just like me existing, I can breathe out the weight. So come to weigh-ins, I'm 195. And I look emaciated. My girlfriend's driving me to this meet. She's like, I don't know if I should just
this is the day before, right? Weigh-ins the day before. I saw you that day.
Yeah, so
you were a different human.
I was different. Like, I was so dehydrated. I thought, like, I knew I was gonna make it to the meet and be able to go eat, but like I didn't realize how much it took on my body. My girlfriend's scared, and I love her to death. I thank her for like being so cautious, but she was like, I didn't know if I should take you to the emergency room. And I'm like, no, babe, this is the whole point. Like, I know I'm going to be this dehydrated, but like, just take me to the weigh-in and get to the weigh-in. I weigh in 195. I'm golden. And then I'm going to go refeed, and that's where everything just goes to shit. I drink a Pedialyte. My stomach just gets engorged, and I can't eat anymore, and like my throat hurts. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? I'm trying to get back up to like 220 at least. I can't even do it. I go out to go eat food. We go eat sushi. I could barely finish the food.
Like the food wasn't going down?
It wasn't going down. It was disgusting, honestly. Like, I hated food at that moment.
Yeah.
Then I tried to go eat Chinese food. Couldn't eat that either. So at that point, I want to say I got up to 220, but I was still very dehydrated because I couldn't drink any water. So we go into the meet. I squat 570 on my second attempt, and I call it because I felt like I was going to pull something. And then going to bench, I want to say I had the racks a little bit too low or a little bit too high. And, I had the safeties too high. And I go down to bench. One side hits the safety. I bench it up. It's a no lift. So I'm like, okay, it felt easy. So I'm still going to move up to like 335. Try for 335. Nothing. Third lift, Aries is telling me, hey, you got this, man. And I'm like, I know I got this. I'm going to get this up. Third lift, nothing. So I'm heated. Like, I'm like, I wasted all this time. I did all this cardio for nothing, essentially. So I still go out through with the meet. I attempted deadlift. I had a 600-pound deadlift. It was all right. Tried to do 617. Called it on a day. Couldn't even lift that. And what could have been a very easy like win in qualification total for the 90 kg category for nationals ended up being a very like good lesson to know, hey, you should probably take your diet a little bit more seriously.
Yeah. Had you started cutting a little sooner? Because you were the week of, you said you were still in the 220s?
Yeah, upper 220s.
Upper 220s the week up. So trying to cut like 20 plus pounds in that week, like, I mean, it was a good learning experience for you. Because afterwards, you kind of bounced back. How was the approach different for the meet after that? Because the meet after that was nationals, right?
So...
Was it nationals?
It was.
Okay.
So I should have learned my lesson, but I didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
I was like 235 going into nationals, but I needed to be 220. So it was only a 15-pound difference. And then I ended up realizing that meat, planes, and water do not mix. So after I get off the plane, I'm still drinking water, just trying to like hydrate a little bit because I'm a little fatigued from the plane. We get to our Airbnb, which was a
trap house.
It was a dungeon.
Yeah, it was.
And I think because it was kind of like the layout of the Airbnb was kind of lopsided, I weighed in at like 242. And I was like, my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to make weight. Because I have to make another 20 plus pound jump. So what I end up doing is I water load again. I do the salt loading as well. But this time I only have like a day or two to lose the weight. So I just drink 3 gallons I don't even drink 3 gallons one day. I drink like 1.5 because I couldn't even get the water down.
Yeah.
I almost threw up. And the second day I drank 3. And then the third day I just cut everything out. And I took what did I take? I took a laxative. When I tell you that laxative went
that shit hit.
That shit hit different. I took I want to say 2 or 3 the night before. Bro, I woke up at like 222. And then I still just did my cardio just to be sure the day before the weigh-in, and I was good. But going further, I do want to be a little bit better about diet and nutrition, because I feel like if I have multiple days of just resting leading up to a meet, I can put up a better performance.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And nationals, like, what was that like for you? When you finally got there, were you nervous?
I wasn't nervous per se. I went in with the mindset of, hey, you're going up against like untested lifters. You're probably not going to do as well as you have been doing at your other meets. So I just came in doing what I thought I could do, and hopefully I could exceed that. But I wasn't really looking in the aspects of like placing. So during the meet, like me and Aries, and I want to say you too a little bit, like we're going through it and we're like, hey, like there's this kid in your weight class, like he's giving, like you can definitely beat him, but like he's got you a little bit on bench. So going head to head with this kid, mind you, he's in the same weight class as me, but just a different age division.
Yeah.
So by the time like it comes down to deadlifts, I attempt a 681 deadlift and I failed that.
That was 683.
Maybe.
Yeah.
683.
Yeah.
I attempt that. I fail it. I attempted a 630 earlier and I failed it due to like a downward motion. Which, you know, it pissed me off. I would have had like maybe almost a 1600 total.
Yeah.
But I mean, can't dwell on that.
Nah, you gotta move past it.
Yeah. But going into awards and stuff like that, I was like, oh, I came in second. Like this is this was just like poor like execution on me. But then when they call out like the awards, they call him out as first and they don't call me second. So I'm like did someone else, did two other people do better than me?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then they call out my division and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's in the third teen category of like, I want to say it's like 17 to 19.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
20 to 23.
Yeah.
So I won that division. I was happy about it, but I knew I left a lot on the platform.
Yeah. So you almost hit that 600 squat.
Yeah,
that looked smooth.
Yeah.
Was that your first? That was a PR, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't count because you took that step forward, right?
Yeah.
And the 683 was also coming up, and then you ripped your hand open. Yeah. So definitely not a bad performance at all. Like you would have hit some crazy numbers. It was really just kind of shit luck with the deadlift, and then same thing with the squat. But like just to know you actually had it and you had it in the tank must have been super motivating. But what's going on with going back down to the 90? You're going back down to 90?
Yeah, so in terms of my motivation of going to the 90s, I don't want to be a 220 pound lifter. I know I have a lot of muscle mass that's going to like hinder me from being a 90, and that's something that I'm going to have to deal with, but I'd much rather be a 90 kg lifter because that's where my leverages are the best. Okay. I don't think I have the best leverages at 220 because I don't compete at 220. I compete at like 230.
Right.
Because it's kind of hard for me to be 220 because I don't feel strong at 220, and I also don't even have the leverages. My hands get like too thick to hold the bar. So that's something I need to like work on, and as well as I think I can do better inside that category.
Yeah.
Than being a 100 kg.
So how did you learn about like the water cutting method and the salt and all that stuff? Like where did you get that knowledge from?
So I had seen it originally from Greg Doucette. Like I want to say a lot of his older content was like very informative and like a lot more entertaining. Now it's kind of like hit or miss on what you get from him. But yeah, he was like a multiple time, like I want to say national champion in powerlifting. and then like just also bodybuilding. So he's very knowledgeable in terms of like cutting. So I looked a lot to him. I also looked towards like another channel. The guy's name is Alex Bromley. He gave me some insight, I want to say, in terms of like the salt. Okay. Greg mostly just discussed about like just water loading, and then Alex was like, oh, like you should add salt as well, just to like for you to hold a little bit more water, so like you can squeeze your body out like a sponge when you're not drinking any more water.
Okay. And you kind of like tested that out over time, or did you start testing it when you were competing?
Yeah, I had like a week to lose the weight, and I was like, how am I going to do this? So I looked on YouTube, saw a Greg video, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I just did it, and it worked.
Yeah. It was crazy because we kept asking ourselves, like, yo, how did he lose? Yeah. Even before Florida. Like, how did he lose all that weight and you were able to get it off? But in terms of, let's pivot the conversation a little bit to more so in terms of like the powerlifting scene. A lot of big names out there. And, you know, we mentioned Russ earlier. But when did you actually start getting more invested in the community itself? Were you just kind of following a couple guys? Was there anybody that like actually inspired you the most?
So I would say like Russ was really what got me really like interested into the sport. And then I would see a lot of untested lifters, like Shane Hunt, a guy named Dawson Wyndham. He comes down to Top Strength, which is located in Rhode Island, a lot. John Hack, I was really interested in like his lifts and stuff like that. So it was just a sport that like caught my eye because as simple as it was, it just displayed like a max feat of strength in those 3 lifts. Right. And I wouldn't say anybody else besides like those few, other than like, let's say like a Rondell Hunt or a Bob Matthews. A lot of the other lifters, like a lot of them are like pretty much copy paste of Russ, or like they have no personality, or just like really cringy. I feel like a lot of people in powerlifting make it out to be more than it is, which is also a good thing because you bring more attention to a sport that, you know, deserves a little bit more TLC than it currently has.
I agree.
But a lot of them take it too far with like the, oh, I'm Batman, like persona thing. I mean, that's more of like a gym bro thing in general. But like, I don't want to say specific names, but I'm going to have to. Like, Wheeze, like...
What you got against Wheeze, though?
Bro, so at first, Wheeze was cool, but then, like, he's just copy-paste of Russ, and, like...
You think so? I think Wheeze has kind of, like, his own little personality a little bit. He's got his own kind of vibe. It's real quirky. It's like the quirky kid who, like, got strong as fuck.
Yeah, kind of, like, I mean, like... He's probably a cool guy in real person, don't get me wrong.
So I saw him. I saw this motherfucker.
Probably a big...
Yo.
Because he's like he's almost 260.
Bro, I'm pretty sure he's like 6'3", 6'4". And when we went to the Philly pop-up last year, that man walked in, I was like, oh, nah. He's a big dude. And he's young. Yeah. He's really young. But I mess with Wheeze though.
Yeah, so Wheeze is cool. It's just like a lot of the stuff he does, like he gets injured a lot, and what he'll do is like he'll be like, oh, post-injury PR, and I'm like,
nah, chill out.
I'm like, bro, like relax, like you get injured like every 3 months, like you don't need to be like, oh, post-injury PR. That's goofy. Just get back to health and do what you gotta do. But I understand with social media, like you have to make it a little bit more interesting for like your fan base and stuff like that, which like is cool. I completely get it, but I am gonna stand on like the ground of like, I don't think he has too much of original personality. Like if you're gonna be someone with like who doesn't want to display as much personality, be a Jamal. Jamal stays in his own lane. He doesn't try to act like somebody else. He's just unapologetically him.
Jamal's very authentic.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't always try to be funny, but when he does try to be funny, it's funny.
Yeah.
Cause like even though it may not be conventional comedy, you can tell it's a guy who's not really funny trying to be funny, and that's what's funny about it. And he's also really strong. I also saw him. He's also like a big dude. He's also in like the 260s, and he's just quiet. He's just quiet, but he's moving serious weight.
Yeah. He just attempted like a 1,100 plus deadlift. I mean, he didn't get it, but I mean, he hasn't been like solely prepping sumo in a while, so I would say give him I mean, I don't want to say give him a year because I know he could do it like that, but that's not how strength really goes. You have to prep it a little bit more better than that.
Yeah, you got to take a little more time. But what do you think about the modern powerlifting scene?
It's very
modern.
Oh, the modern powerlifting scene.
Yeah, like where the sport's kind of headed.
So I mean, I've only been in it for like, I want to say a year. Like my first contact with powerlifting was, I was more of like I don't want to say handler, but like a person who like adjusts the weights and like the.
When did you do that?
So my college coach, he hosted like a mock powerlifting meet at his gym. So like I was helping him. I don't know they're not called handlers. They're like
spotters and loaders.
The spotters and loaders. Yeah. I don't know why I couldn't think of that.
Yeah.
But I was a spotter and loader, and I want to say I did that once for his gym because he just wanted to do like a quick event, you know, for his people. And that was my first contact with powerlifting. Wasn't too much of like a fan. Like it looked okay. And then I want to say I ended up like I did my first meet in Florida. That was like a good like coming of seeing like, oh, this can be like a great thing.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't think like it's pretty much trending in the right direction. I think a lot of people like post the squat, bench, and deadlift with no intentions of competing, which is okay. Like not everybody has to compete, but a lot of people say like they're a power lifter or like they're a great power lifter, and it's like, I mean, you don't really compete. Or like you're screaming into the mic, you're like, oh, I'm him. And it's like, to who? Like you don't compete.
At what meet?
Yeah.
On what platform?
Like another person is like Sawyer Klatt. He has a big issue of he has a big issue of competing because he's originally from Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I've heard on podcasts him saying like it's very hard for him to travel, which I understand. Like if it's hard for you to travel, like you don't really have to do meets. But it got to a point where I had to block him because I would see his videos and like he's squatting 700 pounds, which is a crazy feat, but like it's something that he's done on multiple occasions, and he's screaming as if it's an RPE 10. And I'm like, bro, you squatted this with so much ease. Like, who are you mad at?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think, so there was this guy, his name was Pete Rubish. He did the same thing. He would lift in his basement, and like he would like chime back at the people who like left shit comments on his page and stuff like that through his videos. But like with Sawyer, it's just like you're just randomly screaming, and like just looking at his face when he screamed like just irked me so much that I was like, I have to block you.
I gotta block you. Yeah.
And like a lot of go on.
No, go ahead.
And a lot of people just do like weird stuff in the like. I understand it's powerlifting and like you like a lot of the base is like not conventional people. Yeah. But it's like if you really get into the nitty gritty of it, like more on like equipped lifting and like those type of people. Not to say like they're bad, but like a lot of them are into like weird and like kinky stuff, like to put it like that.
Define what you mean by kinky.
I mean, just like any subsection of like groups of people in the world, you know, like some of them are into like you know, like things like cuckolds and stuff like that.
Wait a minute. Wait. Like powerlifters?
Yeah.
How you know that?
Just from word of mouth, you know.
Okay.
You hear stuff, you know. you have some dudes like on OnlyFans. I don't know
powerlifters.
Yeah, I don't know to the extent of what they do because I will never check that out. But I'm like, hey, powerlifting is a sport where you do not make that much money. So I mean, if you think you have to do that, by all means, do that. Me personally, that is not for me. So I'll just leave it at that.
You saying new powerlifters are cucks?
Yeah. Like it's an unfortunate reality. It's like we had like that crosses over into the powerlifting scene. It definitely in the bodybuilding scene too. Like I mean a lot. I mean, I would say for both. Like you get a lot of hard drugs and like excessive partying, and then like a lot of like fantasy stuff. I don't want to
elaborate on that.
I mean, like unfortunately, it gets down to like a lot of them cannot afford the lifestyle that they live. Yeah. So they have to do whatever they have to do, whether that be like online coaching or like there's some that do like to put in better terms, online modeling. You know, male and female. Yep. So it is an unfortunate part of the sport that, you know, such great athletes aren't compensated well for their performances, and they have to resort to those sort of things because no matter how you want to slice it, that's not what they want to do. That's true. They just want to do their sport. Yeah. And you can tell they feel degraded doing that.
Yeah, I did a video on Sally McNeil. I think you watched it, and she did muscle worship. So like she'd wrestle dudes on camera, and I don't think she liked to do it, but it paid the bills. Yeah, and like it's this tough thing where, you know, they love bodybuilding or powerlifting, but like you said, it doesn't pay that well. But when you love doing it, and that's really the best skill set that you could have that could really make you successful, or you feel can make you successful, or there's nothing else you feel like you can do, you got to utilize whatever that is, and however you can monetize that, you got to, you know, monetize it in any way you can. Yeah. And I noticed in powerlifting, depending on the federation, it gets weirder. Yeah. So I would say USPA, USEPL are like the two mainstream federations that most people will gravitate to when they start competing. But then you got some other federations that are a little interesting. Like there's one, I think it's called like RPS or something like that. Yeah. Those competitors are definitely a little interesting. Yeah. They're different.
Yeah, once you get into like the full body tat people, it's like it's like we can be cool, but like I don't know if I want to really shake your hand.
Yeah, I've seen some swastikas going on over there, and I was like, I don't know if this is for me.
Yeah. I'd be careful because like powerlifting isn't like really like seen that much in the African American community, so like trying to cross over into different federations kind of is like you gotta kind of be careful of who you're associating with, which is like anything in life, but like in powerlifting, you know, it kind of does gravitate towards aggressive personalities, and those personalities tend to be not, you know, as tolerant.
Yeah, which is, I would agree with that. But to pivot real quick, your boy Shizzy.
Now you say he's my boy like I've known him from day one, bro.
You basically have known him from not day one, but before he was like massive. I used to see you guys talk all the time.
Yeah, so I the first time I met him, I was lifting and I was recording, and he seen me recording. He was punching on the punching bag. He was like, "Yeah, I like it. Keep it up." And I was like, "Bet." And then I see him again on the General's Instagram page, like demoing like one of their new like shoulder press machines, And I'm like, I know this dude is gonna be like fucking crazy in a few months. So I DM him and I'm like, yo, like we should get a lift in one time. Not on like, no, like I want to get on your page and shit like that. But like just to like get to know like who he is. His name's Sean. I want to say Shawn Michaels.
Isn't it John Taffy?
Sean Taffy. Yeah, Sean
Is
Taffy.
it John or Sean?
Sean.
Sean, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if his brother's name is John.
It might be John, yeah.
Yeah, because he has 3 brothers, but all of them are fucking huge.
Yeah.
But going back to how we met, like, yeah, I DM'd him on Instagram to lift back when he had like 1,500 followers. Damn. And I was like, yo, we should get a lift. He was like, bet. So we go through like a back day. He's telling me like, oh, like he really wants to like bring up his back. And one thing about him is like, bro, I seen this dude doing like old school lift outs. So like, as much as people want to say like whether he's natty or not, that's not really something that I care about. It's the work ethic. You could see that this dude wants to be great. And that's something that I think that we need to focus more on. The natty or not, like, yes, it's important, but at the same time, it's like, if you're basing who you can be based off what he is, you're doing yourself a disservice, because that dude is going to be great whether he's enhanced or whether he's not.
Right.
Like, he just has the genetics for it.
Right.
But just going through that back workout with him, I was like, bro, I know this dude is determined to do whatever it takes to be the best. And I hit him up one more other time to lift. We kind of like fell on schedules and stuff like that. So we tried to reschedule, never really rescheduled anything. And then that's kind of when like he like started blowing up. Yeah. Like he was at like 10K, and then he didn't really come to the general as much, and I kind of had a different schedule, so I wouldn't really see him that often. But then like he was picking up, I would see like his TikTok, he was at like 500K, then like went to 1 mil, now he's at 3 mil. Yeah. And like I think he's at a mil on Instagram now too. Yeah, he is. Like I just saw, I was like, bro, I know he told me he was a model. I was like, dude, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like, just post on Instagram. Like,
it'll happen.
Yeah. He was like, oh, I'm just gonna do like what I eat in a day. I was like, yeah, bro, you can literally just video yourself like writing down with your face on it. People are gonna gravitate to it. Yeah. Because he's just that, like, just looking at his structure, like, that just
he's got it.
Yeah, he's got the structure, he has got the look, everything, and he knows how to market himself too, which is amazing. So it's just like the sky's really the limit with him.
Yeah, and he's capitalized on it like big time. I always used to see him around, and immediately when I saw him, I'm like, oh, I already thought he was like massive on social media because he has the look. Dude looks like a model. And he has a physique too. So to then start seeing him pop up on my feed, and he just kept popping up and popping up and popping up, and it was more and more, and he was getting all these views and all these likes, and I'm like, holy shit, like this guy is like really rising to the top now. And then Greg did that video, boom, he's like the biggest name in the industry right now. Yeah. So much more power to him, man. He definitely. I think one thing, like you said, you cannot deny the work ethic is crazy, because I've seen him train. People want to say like, oh, he doesn't lift heavy weight. He doesn't have to. Like he's
it's the intensity
getting after
he just
the
brings
intensity.
To the
yeah, the intensity is wild. Then I also noticed he's pretty creative with a lot of like his like he showcases his personality a lot. Yeah,
he's very expressive with it. Like he's constantly dyeing his hair. Like. Like he was a model, so he's clearly into fashion. And I remember he was showing me like his studio apartment. Like this dude's like into interior design too. I don't know if he has a girlfriend helping him out with it, but like the dude is just like multifaceted. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm happy for his success though. Yeah. Good on him. Let's kind of pivot the conversation a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about bodybuilding. Do you follow the community at all?
So I was following at a point, and then it kind of became the same. Like, I was really invested in the Breon and Chris Bumstead rivalry.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I just had that bias because, you know, Breon was black. I was like, oh, like they're doing Breon dirty. But like in actuality, when I would just say the first Olympia Chris took from him, it's debatable, you know, like Breon was falling off.
He was falling off. I think he should have won that one.
Yeah.
2020 was all Chris Bumstead, not even close. But I think they should have given 2019 to Breon. I think he earned that.
But like, that's just the nature of bodybuilding. Like, when they want to push you out, they're very unforgiving. Mm-hmm. Like Big Ramy.
Oh
I mean, granted, Big Ramy didn't do himself.
He did not. He didn't help himself.
Favors. He came in. I won't say sloppy because like, for him to be 300 plus pounds and still be that lean.
I wouldn't say he was sloppy either. I would say he had some deformities for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That just did not look good on stage. He was holding on to water. His color wasn't good. And the other guys who were projected to be behind him came in sharp. Nick, Samson, Hadi, they all brought it. So like, they made Ramy look like shit. And he got pushed to the side, and I did a video on that too. The last Mr. Olympia to fall that hard, that many placings, was Samir Banu in 1984. So yeah, it was a historic drop off for Big Ramy, and like, I don't know, man. He you know, he had a good run when he was at the top. I think he can still go back, but you have to ask yourself, like, he's getting older. These younger guys are getting better. Like, Hunter Labrada looked amazing at his last show.
Yeah, because he's eating real food now.
He's not doing all those shakes.
Yeah. Bro, as much as people hate Nick Trigili, and like,
he got 86th off of YouTube. Poor Nick, man. I think he's trying to come back, though.
I don't think it's a shame he got 86 because he's not.
He was salacious.
Yeah, he's not a good person.
You don't think so?
No, not at all. He's a very bad person. But he put out entertaining videos.
He did.
A lot of it was not, you know, necessarily the most accurate, and he manipulated things in a way that would captivate people. Yeah.
So I hated he was like a big clickbaiter.
Yes.
Big clickbaiter. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I think he was definitely the most charismatic person in bodybuilding. Easily, in terms of journalism. Like, I like Nick Strength and Power. He blew Nick out of the water in terms of entertainment. Yeah. Because Nick's been like the same for years. Doesn't really have a personality. Nick was, and I like Nick. He got me into bodybuilding because there was nobody else really making bodybuilding content like that. He got me into it. I started to fall in love with the golden era and all that stuff. And that's why I got into it, because of Nick's content. Nick Strength and Power. But he was like the first person in the space, so nobody else was doing it.
Yeah. So he had no competition.
Yeah.
Want to be charismatic.
Right. And he's doing him, good for him. But like, Nick Trigili blew him out of the water when it came to entertainment. Not the best journalist.
No.
Some very immoral practices on his part, I feel. And I think that's part of the reason why like YouTube got him out of here.
So what happened is, he had a YouTube channel previously where he was doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. He got 86 off of YouTube.
Do you remember why the first time?
I don't know what he did the first time, but he broke some rule.
Yeah.
And then YouTube has this thing that if you get 86 off YouTube, you can't make another channel. So he made another channel. They didn't. I mean, they let it slide and go to 100K.
They let it go to 100K.
Is crazy. They were paying this man money.
They were paying him,
and then they were like, you know what? You're getting a little bit too big for your britches, and they just booed him out. Which is it's kind of messed up, but at the same time, like, man, it's like, I mean, you knew the policy, and for you to come back trying to do what you did, it's like, I understand YouTube's point of view, but I think he's on Rumble now.
Okay, that makes so much sense for him to be on Rumble.
Yeah, but like, it's not the same. Like, I don't think he has the same passion for it now that he can't be on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because he made another YouTube channel again, which hasn't been...
I think it's called Bodybuilding and FH.
Yes.
I subscribe to it. It hasn't been getting as much traction. I think they're...
He's changed up the whole way he even covers media now.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes he's like monotone and like he's not really the same. He's just not the same Nick anymore because he's been defeated.
Well, he has to water down who he is to actually be in line with YouTube's guidelines. Had he done that at like 80K, 90K?
No.
You don't think so?
At a point he's still gonna get too big. And with that rule being in place, he would have been gone. Because the same, like moving away from bodybuilding, the same thing happened with Steve Will Do It. He got banned off of YouTube.
Yeah.
And then he just went on his second channel. They banned him again.
Why did Steve get banned?
So he was promoting online gambling on his YouTube channel.
Oh shit! Okay.
And YouTube's been cracked down on that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. But damn, yeah, Nick getting taken off, like
that was a huge blow.
That was huge
to the bodybuilding news scene because
100%.
He was probably the first person who would talk about things. Nick Strength and Power took a little bit more time, and then Greg was just like Greg makes a lot of like BS content. Like
Greg to me is bigger. He's transcended any niche.
Yes.
Bodybuilding, powerlifting. He's like a fitness. He's a fitness staple now. Yeah. Like he is kind of like the source for anything fitness. So even anything that's popular. So Greg has gotten to a point where he's so big, he'll only talk about the big things in everything. Yeah. And he'll talk about influencers, all this other stuff. So he's not just bodybuilding anymore. But Nick was like strictly bodybuilding. And people who wanted to follow bodybuilding specifically would go to Nick because, in my opinion, like you look at all the other, there were people who were doing bodybuilding news before Nick Trigilli who he just lapped in views. Yeah. And I maintain that before he got like booted off, he would have passed Nick Strength and Power eventually. He would have passed him. But yeah, man, that sucks. R.I.P. to his channel. Like
he had just got the new studio too,
and it was nice. Like his production quality was really good.
Oh, bro, that sponsorship with Old School Labs down the toilet. And Alpha Elite. I think he got dropped from Alpha Elite after that.
He was with YoungLA for a little bit.
Yeah. He was with YoungLA, and then he went to Alpha Elite right after.
And he went to Alpha Elite, that's also huge for him to like not really be your traditional influencer, but be mostly like a broadcaster, journalist, and be able to get those types of sponsors. Like that's big for other people. To be able to know, like if you put the work in, you can actually get there. Yeah. But
and let's actually talk about the fitness scene fashion because there's some things shaking up that's like I don't see how a lot of these companies sustain themselves. Okay. One that I want to talk about in particular is Anaka. I don't see Anaka being sustainable in the next 5 years. Why? That's just my personal opinion. They just lost their biggest sponsor. So their biggest sponsor was Jacked Italian for like the past couple years. He left? Yeah, he left for YoungLA. So he didn't really specify why, but I'm assuming bread. Yeah, I'm assuming it was the bread. And because Anaka's not really good at marketing itself. Yeah, so
go ahead. YoungLA is becoming a juggernaut. Fucking juggernaut. I talked about this with Adam on the last pod, bro. I ordered a pair of YoungLA shorts years ago, like 2016, and the quality was trash. I didn't even like the name. I was like, YoungLA, that's kind of weird. But they've done such an amazing job of like first of all, finding their target demographic, improving and tailoring their clothes for those people, and kind of building that wave. Like a lot of kids have kind of gravitated to YoungLA before even realizing that was their kind of community and that was like their vibe. Like before, there wasn't really anything tailored for them. Then YoungLA popped up and then like boom. So it became like they did it in such an organic way. Then they started to get more people. Like they started to spend a lot of money on certain types of people that like actually matched their brand identity, and they just kept getting more of those people and more of those people, and they just became fucking massive. They work with C-Bum too. And that's a part of the reason why I think some of these other brands are falling off, because the market has become so oversaturated. Inaka, to your point, I think they're getting hurt because of the lack of innovation.
Yeah, it's literally the same design over and over again.
And they got late to the performance party.
Yeah.
So Inaka was huge when they came. I think they really pioneered the mesh shorts wave. Like nobody else was really popularizing it before them. They made it popular. And I think they made so much money off of that. It got so popular. They became complacent. Mm-hmm. They stopped innovating. They stopped doing new shit. All these other brands hopped on the mesh shorts wave. It got old. There were other options. They didn't pivot to something else to try to like stay fresh. It's just now that it's I think it's getting too late for them.
Yeah.
Like
they've literally lost all their big athletes. Like I want to say the only one left is like Oliver Forsland, and he's not really like. He has his own clothing company, so he's like he'll promote it, but like he's signed to like Boohoo, like so many other different companies that it's like it just gets lost in the feed.
Do you think Inaka can turn it around?
I mean,
Kashali, I heard, is a good businessman.
I mean, he is Nigerian. Nigerian people they're
That's
finessers.
That's a fact.
So
That's a fact.
I would say what he would have to do is he would have to get either an influencer or like a top like
they'd have to get somebody big.
They have to get somebody big that's like that's like on the downtrend of their career, trying to pick it back up. They would have to get someone like Callum Von Monger. They'd have to get someone like him.
Yeah.
And like he would have to like if he was able to pick back up after like all the stuff that's happened to him, he would be able to bring them out of what they're in now.
Yeah.
But they would also have to change up designs.
They would.
Because like I'm tired of seeing the same tiger, zebra, like
they switch up the logo, but it's the same same shit.
And like not for nothing, they just stole Eric Emanuel's flow. To be honest. They did. So it's that's a fact. But they just tailored it to the fitness scene and marketed it to the fitness scene. But what would you say is your favorite, if you have a favorite? So, I mean, for a while I was really into YoungLA, mostly because like all the influencers that I had been watching at the time, like they were just going to YoungLA left or right. So I really gravitated towards James English, Lex Little, Anthony Mantello. I really liked Anthony Mantello because he was really into bodybuilding, and he was, out of the three, he was the most focused and still is. But after a while, like they all had their discrepancies with Gymshark, and they moved over to YoungLA, and I was like, oh, it looked cool. I never really bought anything because I wasn't the type to like give into like influencer marketing. But then over the years, I bought a few pieces here and there, and you know, I like the quality of some of the stuff, but I think a lot of the designs are like kind of goofy. YoungLA, yeah, like it's more for like a young teenager. Don't get me wrong. Like some of the stuff that they come out with new is pretty nice, but I don't know. They're trying to transition into lifestyle. That's what they're doing. So it's like, I don't know, like wearing YoungLA like just out in the open. Like I'm doing it right now, but like like these are just sweatpants. Like they're trying to make like dress pants and stuff like that. I got a pair. They're mad tight. Yeah, they look they probably look sus, don't they? They look sus. They look a little sus. Yeah, I mean but that's what they're going for. That's what they market for. Like their brand is like younger men who are really into fashion. I don't want to say fuckboy aesthetic. It is, but it's like it's fuckboy aesthetic. But they also have like some simple stuff too, and some shit that I just would not wear. Yeah. But I admire the fact that they try. I feel like that's why they stay on top. They try. Like they came out with those jerseys last year. They came out with the pull off pants, the sweatpants, the 2000s teams. I bought a pair. Yeah, I wore them twice. Yeah, they weren't it. I wore them twice. Haven't worn them again. But it got me intrigued. You know what I mean? I wanted to, you know, it was some shit that I looked at and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah. But so I respect it. I respect the hustle. Alphalete, see, they have nobody. And
They got that guy Dorian.
no, he's on YoungLA.
Is he?
Yeah.
Dang, yo, YoungLA is the Thanos of the fitness.
And it's crazy too because when he first signed, because he was originally just a model for Alpha Elite, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm finally an Alpha Elite athlete. Like, this is like I always dreamed of this. I felt like this was like I'm the embodiment of what an Alpha Elite athlete should be." And then he's on YoungLA. I'm like, yo,
Damn.
That's why I don't really put too much stock into what influencers say. Like a lot. Like I remember when Gorilla is still very huge, but like when Gorilla was the thing, everybody was like Gorilla, and now huge supplements and Rise have starting to make like a big wave in the fitness scene. And then you see a lot of people moving over there, and of course, it's for the bread.
It's for the bread. Yeah, they'll go to the highest bidder.
Yeah,
that's really
it's like huge supplements or Rise supplements. It's not better than Gorilla, but like the thing with Gorilla is a lot of people don't like the taste because it's too much ingredients. So it's like it upsets your stomach and stuff like that. But I mean, the whole point of it is that like he's giving you clinically dosed shit. Yeah, and it's supposed to be a very good pre-workout. So I mean, I don't really use pre-workout. I think a lot of them are just like. I mean, not to say it's a scam because they work, but like I don't think a lot of it is needed unless like you just need a pick me up or like, you know, like I can see for like a meet day using like pre-workout, but like just for every day, like I think proper nutrition and like sleep and hydration, you should be good.
That's easier said. That's easier said than done, though.
I understand.
You're right. You're 100% right. Yeah, you're 100% right.
But it's like, I just feel like, especially if, like, even if you're not eating good, like, you have an excessive amount of calories in you, why are you not getting good pumps without pre-workout? That's something you should, you know. I mean, I don't say go to your doctor to be like, oh, I'm not getting a pump in the gym. What's wrong with me? But, like, just go out to see your blood work to see, like, hey, like, what's going on? I mean, obviously eating, like, junk food all the time, you should try and limit that. So, like, you can, I don't know, just not die.
Right.
But, yeah, I've just never been like a pre-workout person.
So you still don't use it to this day?
Like,
or like you've tried it here
I've tried it, but like,
okay.
I've never been persistent, no.
Do you not like how it makes you feel, or?
I don't feel anything from it.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you not tried something strong enough?
So I have tried like, it had yohimbine in it.
Oh, nah.
Bro, I
learned the hard way.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna throw up.
Yeah,
it was very strong. I got a crazy pump from it.
Yeah,
it's a pump that I would never get just from like just proper nutrition and stuff like that because I had like I think it had glycerol in it too. But like I don't like using it too often because it tastes like shit because of the yohimbine. Yeah, and it's just so strong. Yeah, so it's like. I don't know. I'm not one to use outside supplements. I don't like creatine. I don't even see too much of a difference. So like, I'm mostly like if I use something, it might be protein powder just to get the extra protein in.
So you won non-drug tested nationals, no supplements at all. Just built different. Just built different. But for me, with pre-workout. I've used my fair share. I've used a bunch of pre-workout over the years, and I found that like most of these companies go out of business very quickly, so quickly. Very few companies like stick around. You mentioned earlier like not making you feel good. Alpha Line, terrible.
It's just copying. A lot of supplement companies are just copy pasted of whatever they see. Right, it's the cheapest because a lot of it is like already pre-made formulas, and then the companies just. Slap their label on it and give it a different flavor. Right,
that's really it. But what I've learned is the pre-workouts with the least amount of ingredients work best for me. Yeah, that's why I use raw. So like, I wouldn't say I started using it just because C-Bum was using it, but I really liked their brand identity and their brand mission, and it was more health focused. So I was like, okay, if this company is strictly health focused, they must have products that kind of reflect that. And like pre-workouts that are loaded with a bunch of shit, Like you'll see some pre-workouts with like these matrices or like blends, trash, terrible.
Yeah.
They'll have all these ingredients, but you don't know exactly how much of everything is in there. It's just a combination of a bunch of shit. Most of those pre-workouts were terrible. So I learned to like read the ingredients, and the least amount of ingredients, the better. You get something for a pump, something to stimulate you, some caffeine, and you're good to go. I have a fairly high tolerance for caffeine, so I started using raw, and that one just been hitting. But like, I noticed if I use pre-workout consistent like every day, I get too reliant on it. And then having to like stop using pre-workout because you want to go 2 weeks without using it so you don't get dependent. And I just use it on like back and leg days now.
Yeah.
Back and leg days. And honestly, when I stop using pre, my body gets used to not using pre anymore. Like I feel just as good. Like just as good in terms of like energy. At least if I eat and hydrate properly. Yeah. So that's really the caveat with that. But so no supplements, huh?
No, I mean, like I would buy supplements, and like I've just tried beta alanine on its own just for like because I heard it like helps out with like endurance and like just getting that last rep out. But like in powerlifting, you're not doing like, I mean, if you're in a hypertrophy phase, yeah, you're doing like 10 plus reps. Mm-hmm. But like most of the time, you're like in like the 5, 3. Probably single range. Yeah. So like you don't really need it that much. Yeah. But yeah, I'm a classic water, salt, you know, and then food guy. I'm not too invested in supplements.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Derek, more plates, more dates. What do you think about him?
So when I first found More Plates, More Dates, I felt like this was like a new discovery. Like I loved his content and everything. Mm-hmm. If I was to go back and revisit his channel, I don't think I would be as interested because he's gotten better at relaying information. It's just that like his tone is very flat. He doesn't really have like an captivating voice, and he doesn't really do too much to try and like keep you interested. Plus his like he's getting to the point where like he's like really going full force into gorilla, where he won't make a video for like months on end, and when he does make a video it's like an hour plus. So it's like I'm not sitting down to watch a 1 hour breakdown of why Logan Paul called you a pussy. Like,
I still have to watch that.
Yeah, like it's stupid. I watched the Liver King one though because that was good. That was important for the fitness industry. Yeah, but I mean, not really, because it's like if you didn't know Liver King was a natty, like, I mean, you're a civilian. Like, yeah, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but speaking of Derek though, I wanted to look at his subreddit just because his subreddit has some very funny stuff on it. Like I've seen a lot of trolls on there. Yeah. I don't know if people are being serious or if they're trolling. There's a lot of funny, what I would call flexible activity on there.
Yeah. You know, some mechanic and transmission activity, you know?
I would say Derek is definitely one of the more influential people within fitness in terms of talking about like, you know, teaching people how to take anabolics like the right way. Giving as much knowledge on that. I don't think there's anybody else that's really been able to do it the way he has.
Yeah. A lot of people are like very dangerous when it comes to it, because the typical person giving you advice is like an 18 or 21-year-old online. Right. But they're not really giving you advice. They're just telling you this is what I take. Which is, I wouldn't say in itself is dangerous, because everybody has their own will to do whatever they want, but there are a lot of impressionable people who do not understand how these drugs work, and will say, oh, he takes it, he looks about the same size as me, when they're like very overweight and stuff like that. Right. And they'll take that stuff and then all their biomarkers are in the shit. Right. And they're like, oh, why do I feel like garbage now? Like, I thought steroids were supposed to help me. And it's like, well, you're taking advice from someone who's getting advice from somebody else who knows what they're doing. Right. So you're not really doing yourself too much of service.
Right. And that's another big thing. But we can get into that another day. Yeah. I kind of want to close the discussion by talking about what would you say is something that, and the year's not over, but what is your biggest takeaway from this year? Like the biggest lesson you've learned so far?
So my biggest lesson this year was actually through nationals and just watching USAPL nationals is that there's a huge difference between tested and untested lifters. Going in the favor of tested lifters. The tested lifters are different.
Really?
Yes. Leaps and bounds, I feel like USAPL lifters are stronger than, I wouldn't say stronger than like the top USA or USPA lifters, but for the majority, I think they're a lot stronger because they're lifting on a power bar, and then going from a power bar to a deadlift bar is completely different. I'm not going to say one's stronger, one's weaker, because there's caveats to the deadlift bar. You have to know how to adjust to the whip. You have to know how to pull the slack out, which isn't too hard, but like a lot of people grip and rip with their deadlifts. So like that's just something you have to figure out. But
right.
I think overall, like the USAPL is the more organized federation. And I believe that if they play their cards right, they should be the federation that American lifters should want to gravitate towards. However, if you're looking towards the world standard, I mean, Powerlifting America is really the only one that you can qualify through. But I've never really seen a Powerlifting America meet in person, so I don't know how they're run.
I went to one. It was decent.
It was decent?
Yeah, it was decent.
But I just feel like the way the USAPL structures everything is so smooth. I do think their commentary at the Nationals was terrible.
Yeah.
A lot of them didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And you would hear commentary from one platform on a different stream of a different platform. So it's like they need to fix that. But other than that, I think they are the federation to go.
Hell yeah. And what's next for you?
I will be transitioning over to the USAPL.
You want to do that permanently?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm done with USPA.
That's it?
Yeah.
Officially?
After this Worlds, I mean, I may do another meet because I do like the deadlift bar, but I feel like I'd be more suited in the USAPL.
USAPL. Yeah. Yes, sir. It's been a great discussion, Abraham.
Yeah. I'm glad you could have me.
for coming on the podcast. You know what I'm saying? This has also been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Also been a long time. Won't be the last time. I'll definitely have you back on. But shit, bro. Great pod. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 3 of the Living Large podcast. I'm your host, Large Kofi. Thank you for watching.
That was nice.
Good shit, bro. That was a good discussion.